Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the rod shop. Today we're going back on the VooDoo rod and start putting the guides on and doing the guide wrapping. But first, I thought I'd tease you with this one I started this morning. This is a spinning rod killer. It is a 6406. It's going to be a super lightweight bait rod, but I'm building it with some economy components that will still give you the superior performance. We'll start this one in a couple weeks, but let's get started on the VooDoo rod. Okay, I've got the VooDoo rod back in the wrapper. The only thing that I've done to it since you saw it last was I put a very thin coat of epoxy on the wraps that I have done. Under wrap, fade wrap in front of the trigger seat, and then 2 accent wraps in the split grip area. Today we're going to start putting guides on. Now, with the modern guides, especially in freshwater and light salt, most of these guide feet are going to be pretty well ground down, so you don't have to mess with them too much, especially if you're using size D thread. Well, the thread I'm using on this rod is size A. So what I do is I take my little needle nose pliers that I put tape on, and I'm going to hold the guide in the taped off area, and I'm just taking a fingernail file and I'm going to just touch up the edge of the toe just to sharpen it a hair to make it easier to get your thread wrap started. And I'll switch it over and I'll do the other foot. These guides today are so much better than the ones you used to get. Used to be really blocky on the toe and you had to spend a lot of time grinding them down so your wraps look good. But these are in pretty good shape, so you don't have to do that much work on them. So now that we have the guide ground, we're going to tape it down. We did this layout when we were doing the under wrap and decided that that was going to be the center between the guide feet, which is right there. I'm just going to tape, maybe I'm going to tape down the front foot, and we're going to start with the rear guide foot. Okay. There are a couple ways to start your guide wraps. Now, there are 2 ways that I use. One, when my hands aren't working so good, I will use a technique where I start in front of the guide, tape the tag end down of your thread. I'm coming over the rear foot that I'm going to wrap and use the thread to pin that guide down to the blank pretty tight. I'm going to come out in front of the guide about 4 wraps, and then I will cross over, and that's pinned. And I'll make my 4 wraps. It's 3, it's 4. Now we're coming up on close to the guide foot. I'm starting to climb up it. Now I jumped up on top of it. Now what I'll do is I'll use my burnishing tool. I'm going to slide this thread back down the foot. And yep, it's crooked, but we can fix that when we start the front wrap. Alright, so I'm still just pushing this back down. Making sure the thread doesn't jump over. I'll tighten these up. And I'll just finish my wrap out. I'll make a few more turns here. Now I'm going to release this tape that I had the tag in held with. And I'm just going to nip it here on the dirty side of the blank. Now you got your guide wrap started. Alright, now I need to put a thread pull in. Again, dirty side, trigger side up. And put a thread pull in. I'm going to nip this out of the way because that is going to have a problem. Put my thread pull in. Oop, it jumped. Right there. I think one more wrap will do it. Okay, you're going to hold that down with your finger. Clip your thread, open your loop, drop your thread in, and you're going to pull it through, and you're going to pull some tension on it. Now, I don't cut this tag in yet. I want to finish my front wrap and get my burnishing done for the most part before I cut this pull through end loose, because that way I can still tighten the wrap after I've got most of the burnishing done. Now let's straighten the guide up on the blank. It's a little off of where it needs to be. We can still roll it underneath the wrap here a little bit. Get it back where it should be. Now we'll start the wrap on the front foot, and I'll start that another way. And this way it's a little quicker if you're good at it. It's going to take some practice. It can be a pain to do, but you're going to start just a couple loops, couple wraps in front of the guide foot, and then all you need to do is cross over that. And you get a couple turns. You got to make sure this stays underneath. Just clean it up a little bit before you try to go up on the guide foot. Just get it all nice and neat right in front of it. That guide foot is still moving around a little bit. Okay, now what I like to do is I will jump up on the foot high. I'm not quite there yet. Let's try this one more time. I will jump up on the foot higher than I should be and get a wrap started. See it pop down below the foot. Now I got one started there. I'm going to get 3 or 4 wraps up high on the foot. We'll get one more in there. Now what I'll do is I'll take my burnishing tool and I'll slowly move that back to get a really nice looking transition. I'll pull some down on the toe right there. And pull this back and tighten that up. Work my way around the blank. And now we're up on the guide foot. It's got a twist in it again, so we're going to pull that back just a hair. And now you can finish your wrap. Alright, so let's cut this out of the way. Now we've got this pin down here. I'm going to pull it back down to the dirty side. Nip it. And I'm continuing to burnish as I work my way up the guide. Now we're going to need to put a thread pull in here in a second. Back on the dirty side, I got my thread pull. And put it in here. Finish this wrap out. And I've still got some gaps in there, but we're going to fix that with a burnishing tool in just a minute. Okay, that's my last wrap. Pull some slack. Cut it. Open your loop. Drop it through. And then you're wrapped. Okay, now it's time to clean all this up. So we're going to burnish and tighten and get rid of all the gaps. And pull those down a little bit. Get rid of that gap there. Work on this back one too while we're at it. And that is how you, I got some more burn. I got a little bit more burnishing here to do, but I've got it close. I'm going to pull the last little bit of tension. I'm going to grab my razor blade, which is not on this carriage, it's on my other carriage. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a little, lay the blade flat on the blank, and pull the thread to it. Same thing on this one. And lay the blade flat and open a little gap there and cut it. And there we go. Again, this still has to be straightened up a little bit. Those are the two ways that I start a guide wrap. I finish the same all the time. Leave your tag in till you're done with your burnishing. Get it all pretty. Snip your tag ends out of the way. Burnish your tag ends away completely. And then you're ready for epoxy. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap the rest of these guides on out using the blue. Everything else will be single foot. Next time we'll talk about mixing epoxy and how to apply it in such a way that you get a really flat looking finish. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.